Lord, forgive me, for I have sinned. I have gone down a rabbit hole straight to hell, trying to analyze what has to be the craziest challenge that's ever entered the sex industry. Meet Lily Phillips, an OnlyFans model and porn star who is currently trying to break the record for sleeping with the most men in 24 hours and is taking in applications to have sex with 1,000 men in January. This is unfathomably ambitious. I was shocked this was even a record to begin with. And now this madman, the maniac, is risking her life to take on 1,000 hogs in one day. And this sentiment is shared by doctors who emphasize numerous health concerns and risks that may occur, including damage within the lower body. They also give us the math and state 1,000 men in 24 hours would be roughly 41 men per hour. Now, to give credit where credit is due, Lily Phillips has taken some preparations for the big 1K by sleeping with 100 men in one sitting a few weeks ago, and is about to up the ante with 300 men. However, even if you ignore all major health concerns that comes with so much sex in one sitting, there's a lot of other factors that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to this fucking challenge. First off, it really depends on the definition of sex and what qualifies as having sex with these men. For instance, if it's just straight penetration, just get in and get out with no time for lingering, then yes, I'd say this would absolutely be something that's probable. However, based on the current record holder, Lisa Sparks, according to the New York Times, her feat of 919 men in one day was documented by a sex industry in Poland back in 2004, counted each man after they ejaculated. The rules are written in crayon, but essentially, based on this documentation, in order for it to count as sex, the men need to finish. If they don't fire around, spill their seed, whatever you want to call it, if they don't come, it won't count based on this given information. On top of that, according to Google, the average man can last anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes, which for a challenge like this is a lot of sweet time. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but based on my calculations, for 1,000 men in 24 hours, you're looking at a maximum of 1 minute 26 seconds per guy. Given this information, you can't just enlist anyone. In order to have even an iota of a chance at completing this, you're going to need to do some selective testing. You'll want to hold auditions, have a little casting call before filming 100 men in 24 hours to make sure the ones enlisted can unload in under 1:30. And you'll probably want to include the time it takes to warm up. Which is another lingering question I have about this. Will she have a team on standby? Like, I imagine for most guys, it might take them 1:30 just to get in the mood. Will she have a team of fluffers to make sure the next guy is good and ready before his turn? There's just a lot of practical elements that need to be taken into consideration when it comes to sex, such as the next being if it's just vaginal. Now, from everything I could find about the previous holder, Lisa Sparks, there wasn't any indication it was just straight vaginal sex. Knowing this, when you factor in oral and anal into the equation, suddenly there's new levels of dimension to this. If it's within the rules, that at least gives her a tactical advantage. And expanding upon that, you can do groups. So far, we've been going at this one by one, but with the inclusion of different forms of sex, she can take up to 3 men at a time. If it's within the rules, groups might be her best bet at achieving 1,000 men. Obviously, time is still limited, but the advantage of doing it in groups is that there's more time to finish or spare time in between sessions. So by doing groups, this gives Lily 3 guys per round of sex and increases the total amount of time to finish from 1 minute 26 seconds to about 4 minutes and 18 seconds. Of course, we need to factor in time realistically. So, let's just say, for simplicity's sake, sleep is out the window. These next 24 hours must be devoted to sex as much as possible. Spare time should only be reserved for the bare necessities, including occasional bathroom breaks and brief periods of rest in between sessions. If it's one-on-one, realistically, each guy should get a maximum of 1 minute 15 seconds to finish, allowing just shy of 5 hours, exactly 4 hours and 50 minutes of free time to be divided wisely in between sessions. With this, it would allow for more downtime to rest and recover, but it wouldn't be as efficient time-wise and completing the challenge. With group sex, however, even if you shave off that extra 18 seconds, with only 4 minutes per group of 3, that leaves only 1 hour of total free time. This should be reserved for the bare necessities, such as a lunch break or bathroom breaks. However, what you exchange for a decrease in downtime is an increase in overall efficiency through the group method, so you have a better chance at completing the challenge through sheer consistency. Unsurprisingly, there's a ton of other YouTubers who have shared their sentiment about this. Moist Critical made 2 great videos diving into it, and I highly recommend you check them out. One excellent point he made in this video was how implausible it might be for someone to even have sex 1,000 times in one life, let alone in a single day. On top of that, the average person might not even masturbate 1,000 times in one life, which I agree with. Just the whole concept of sex becomes less of a necessity over time and more of a casual experience. And as health experts have stated, this may ruin the experience for her in the long run. Now, do I think this challenge is possible for Lily Phillips? I don't know. In terms of context and overall rules, it's still very loose, and there's still a lot that's yet to be factored in, such as what counts as a cum shot. With Lisa Sparks, they treated it like a sport, even measuring how much each man ejaculated afterwards. Meanwhile, I don't even know how the f you're gonna fit 1,000 men into one place for sex. You're probably gonna want to set up a timesheet and have a call time be 10 minutes before their term so they can have time to get fluffed and ready. I want to make it clear, I don't know jack shit about Lily Phillips. I wouldn't have even heard of her if someone didn't ask me a rhetorical question. From everything I could find about her online though, this is something she's serious about doing in January of 2025. She described the entire experience of sleeping with 101 men in only 14 hours as tiresome, feeling achy afterwards, and even showcased the bedroom afterwards on TikTok. She also states, sex is nothing more than a numbers game, and her parents, even grandparents, are apparently very supportive, so much so that Lily's mom is allegedly her head of finance. Which is a wild thing to request of the people who brought you into this world. Like, if this was me, this would be something I'd take to my grave. My parents would never know this side of me. Anyways, while it's hard to determine the legitimacy of all this and get into exact details of what kind of experience Lily is providing these men, based on my extensive research, calculations, and external factors into consideration, I do not think she can achieve having sex with 1,000 men in 24 hours. At least, not by January. I mean, for God's sake, it took her 14 hours just to get through 101 dirty bastards, and you're talking about 10 times that amount for a world record. Granted, she could always speed up the process with these guys, but once again, it falls back on what exactly qualifies as having sex. As of right now, she's only been training her body to handle mass amounts of schlong, and although she's upping the ante with 300 men now, 300 is still significantly less than 1,000. There's just a lot more that needs to be taken into consideration other than just if it's possible from a health perspective. There's more that needs to be factored in. Realistically, this is a record that's going to take a few months of preparations. Outside just training herself, she can't just take 1,000 random applicants. First, she's got to test those who apply, select those who performed best, find a date that works for all 1,000, schedule them appropriately, and find a way to efficiently use the next 24 hours. Like I said, it may be possible, But you're going to want to take out the playbook like John Madden and strategize a bit to find your best course of action. This was just an unbelievable story and unfathomable goal. I had a full-on middle school lunch table conversation in my head trying to process this, and subsequently probably scared a few people in the process with my fascination of it. I guess I'll just have to keep a lookout for an update come January to see if Lily Phillips successfully completed the Sex with 1,000 Men in 24 Hours challenge. Who knows? Maybe I'm just an uncultured swine when it comes to the act of steaming hams. Maybe this is why casual sex exists, because competitive is not for the weak from the looks of it. I just had to talk about this. That's really about it. So...